Welcome to the part 3 of our discussion on business communication. In the last two sessions, we looked at communication, we looked at listening, we looked at reading skills and strategies for reading. We have also discussed about writing, business reports, business correspondence, minute writing, and in this session, we're going to go ahead and look at some other aspects of business communication, such as public relations, information and communication technology, and idea sharing events. I hope that at the end of these sessions, we would also be able to go home with new ideas and enhanced knowledge. Thank you. We will commence this session by looking at organizing and conducting idea sharing events. Idea sharing events are a veritable source of generating ideas for business improvement. It is for this reason that we'll be looking at idea sharing events in this module and how they can help us to improve our business. In looking at idea sharing events, we will view them as occasions where people come together to brainstorm, strategize, investigate, recommend solutions to a problem about a particular topic or issue. Examples of idea sharing events include conferences, workshops, seminars, lectures, retreat, general meeting of companies, committee meetings, board meetings, etc. Just as minutes of meetings provide a record of proceedings at meetings, communiques are issued at the end of idea sharing events to communicate the proceedings and resolutions arrived at. A communique will contain information such as the title of the event, including the date, the day, and venue, the preamble or introduction which states the aim of the event, the observations garnered from the discussions, the resolutions arrived at, and the conclusion, and if necessary, recommendations which are provided to the organizers of the idea sharing event. Public relations is another aspect of business communication. An organization must pay attention to its public relations, that is, how it communicates with and is perceived by its stakeholders. To highlight the importance of this, we will examine an organization's public relations in the light of its different stakeholders, the benefit it stands to gain from having a positive public relations. Frank Jeffkins describes PR, that is public relations, as a planned and sustained effort to establish and maintain goodwill and mutual understanding between an organization and its publics. This means that an organization must plan to maintain good PR with its publics, that is, its stakeholders, in order to develop and maintain its credibility while enhancing its visibility. It is imperative that an organization's PR strategy is created by it is planned for, and it is sustained. Two organizations in the same industry may not necessarily implement the same PR strategy. Their PR strategy will be based on their organizational vision. In the definition of public relations by Frank Jeffkins, he referred to an organization's publics. An organization's PR publics refer to every group affected by the organization's activities and consists of the following: the employees of the organization and their families, customers of the company, marketers, shareholders, the press, host communities where they operate from, trade unions, government parastatals, and every other organization that is affected by its activities. An effective public relations strategy is very beneficial to an organization. When a public relations strategy is well executed, some of the benefits that the organization gets includes a restoration of confidence in its products and services. Her corporate image is also enhanced. Furthermore, her commitment to being socially responsible is highlighted, and this acts as a support to the marketing efforts and other promotional activities of the organization. Public relations activities of any organization should cover the following areas. Public affairs, that is how it relates to its public, the general public. Investor relations, how it relates to her shareholders. Employee relations, that is how the organization deals with her employees, and this is usually done through the labor unions. Then the community relations is also another aspect of public relations. The host community enjoys some benefits from the company. For example, the oil companies have a robust community relations department dealing specifically with issues relating to their host communities. Industrial relations is also another aspect of public relations, and it deals with issues within the industry that it operates in. Since the press is one of the publics of any organization, it must maintain a good relationship with the press. Through media relations, an organization's activities and the role it plays is brought to the notice of the general public. Media relations performs the functions of informing, educating, and entertaining the general public. Media relations can be classified into electronic media, that is TV, radio, and internet, and print media, newspapers, magazines, journals, and newsletters. Media relations can take the following form: the form of a press conference or a press interview, where the chief executive of the organization or its representative address the press. Press announcements can also be made for external audience and in-house through newsletter to employees. The broadcast interview can also be in the form of a live question and answer session. We want to look at the principles that apply to media relations, and the following questions must be answered. What? The information must be correct, factual, relevant, timely, and adequate. Who? The PR manager must be competent and intelligent because it's the one driving the media relations. Whom? Direct information and action to the right customers. Why? A rationale must be established for preferring certain media houses to others. Some may be good for broadcast, some may be good just for print media. When? The information must be timely. Where? Your choice of media must be appropriate. And how? The appropriate language must be used by the PR manager. Public speaking and making presentation is a skill that should be developed by everyone, as it is required in our daily dealings with others. There are acceptable public speaking etiquettes which we will be addressing in this module to make us better public speakers. Public speaking is the performance of a speech before a live audience at a formal or informal event. It seeks to inform, educate, entertain, or influence the listeners. Visual aids like electronic slideshow can be used to enhance the speech and make it more interesting for the listeners. Public speaking is beneficial and it is a self-development skill that boosts one's confidence because no one wants to hire a timid individual. It also enhances career development. It improves our communication and critical thinking skills while also broadening one's social and professional network. To be an impactful public speaker, there are certain essentials that must be taken into consideration. You must ensure that your topic is well researched and you are conversant with the content. It's also important that you logically organize your thoughts so you do not appear unprepared. You are not moving from slide 1 to slide 10 and back to slide 2 and asking for permission to go back and forth from your audience. It's also important that you do not digress from your core message. You must use facts and statistics to complement your presentation. And it is very important that you connect with your audience. In connecting with your audience, you should vary your vocal pace, tone, and volume. A monotone voice can be very boring and you can lose your audience along the way. You must also display confidence and poise and stick to the allotted time. Start strong and end stronger, leaving a lasting impression on your audience. As with every aspect of life, public speaking has its do's and don'ts. We will look at the do's first and then the don'ts. Do determine the take-home message of your speech. Do speak within the allotted time. Do be audience-centric. Speak loudly enough to be heard. Do clearly define terms and avoid using acronyms and jargons that your audience will not understand. Do answer questions succinctly and as briefly as possible. Do use laser pointer to direct audience attention to the image or graphic being referred to during slideshows. Then for the don'ts, don't detract from the message of the speech by including unnecessary details. Don't go back and forth between slides. Be organized. Don't fidget nervously before your audience. All movements must be purposeful and not distracting. Don't introduce a topic apologetically. Don't read from your slides and don't use questions as an excuse to bring up other slides. And lastly, don't wave the laser pointer all over the screen or to point to a text. Communication research is a branch of research which focuses exclusively on communication. We will look at research in general and then examine communication research in this module. Research is a diligent inquiry or examination to seek or revise facts, principles, and theories. Wikipedia defines research as a creative and systematic work undertaken to increase the stock of knowledge, including the knowledge of humans, culture, and society, and the use of this stock of knowledge to devise new applications. This implies that research can be carried out on any area of life and can be in the following forms. It can be basic research, that is to enhance knowledge. It can be applied research to solve and improve human problems. It can be problem-oriented research, which is carried out by industry apex body to identify and tackle a particular business situation, and the problem-solving research, which is done by an individual company to discover solution to a problem that it has encountered. There are two categories of research, the qualitative and quantitative, and we'll be looking at them side by side. The qualitative research is done based on human experience and perception, while the quantitative uses numbers and measurement to either explain, predict, or control a phenomenon. The qualitative research provides a depth of understanding, while the quantitative measures level of occurrence. The qualitative research will ask questions about why, while the quantitative will ask questions such as how many and how often. The qualitative research studies motivations, why people do what they do. It is subjective and probes individual reactions to discover underlying motivations. The quantitative, on the other hand, studies the actions. It is objective, questions without revealing a point of view. The qualitative research will enable discovery, while the quantitative will provide the proof of what has been done. The qualitative research allows insight into behavior and trends, while the quantitative will measure the levels of the actions and the trends. Qualitative research will interpret, while the quantitative will describe. Examples of qualitative research include one-on-one interviews, focus groups, and participant observations and case studies. Examples of quantitative research include experiments, surveys, descriptive research, and correlational research. If it were not for ongoing research in various spheres of life, there wouldn't have been improvements in the quality of human life. The importance of research cannot be overemphasized, especially in the health sector. It's research that resulted into the discovery of vaccines that have reduced mortality rate amongst children. Research is therefore important because it builds knowledge and facilitates learning. Research also enhances understanding and increases public awareness about certain issues. It aids business planning and growth and helps to correct lies and emphasizes the truth, while also increasing interest in reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing information. Having understood what research is on the general note, we want to look at communication research. Communication research focuses on the study of the communication process, highlighting its importance and impact in accomplishing individual and organizational goals. Communication research also involves the presentation of clear and easily understood research material for public information. It also seeks to explain how messages are sent and received. Since communication is about transmitting messages which should be well understood, communication research is critical to how skills and knowledge are communicated to the next generation. Communication research helps to improve connection with the public by identifying how to effectively communicate with them. The possibility of misinformation is also reduced while enhancing decision making as it affects the public. We now want to look at the research process and the sample format of a research report. I'm sure you can all identify with this, having had to do a research when you were writing your project while in school. The research process will start with identifying a problem and clarifying that problem, what is its objective and the purpose. Once you have done that, you need to formulate your hypothesis and then go ahead to collect your data. You need to determine what data would help you solve the problem and how to collect it. Are you going to use a questionnaire, observe, experiment, survey, interview, or do content analysis? After you have collected your data, you need to organize and analyze the data and interpret the results that you get. Thereafter, you prepare your research report. The research report has a format. The chapter 1 is the introduction to the body of the report, and it also gives a background of the study. Chapter 2 does a literature review and provides the theoretical framework of the research work. Chapter 3 is the research methodology. How did you go about getting your data? Chapter 4 presents your data, analyzes it, and interprets the result, while Chapter 5 provides a summary, conclusion, and recommendation. Other things that could be in your research report are the bibliography references. Information and communication technology is a very essential industry, and organizations depend on its services to communicate and relate information. This will be the focus of this module. Information and communication technology is the science of processing and distributing data using computer software and hardware, telecommunications, and digital electronics. Through telecommunications, a vital aspect of ICT, ideas, emotions, information, picture, data, feelings, etc., are exchanged across diverse places through telecommunication gadgets, which we'll be looking at in the next slide. Telecommunication devices can be classified based on the mode of connection. That is, are they cabled, like telephones, or are they wireless, like cellular phones, pagers, or internet? They can also be classified based on their mode of transmission. Are they digital or analog, and by their function? Types of telecommunication services include phones, cable and wireless, that's the GSM, personal computers, electronic mail, what we call the email or instant messaging, automated banking devices, video conferencing or voicemail, short message service, the SMS, radio television broadcasting, and fax. Telecommunication has its advantages and disadvantages. Some of the advantages include the fact that messages are relayed faster and accurately to the world. Furthermore, a large volume of data, information, text, and pictures can be stored in our mobile systems as against furniture like shelves and cabinets. Telecommunication also helps managers to make informed decisions, as comparative information can be collected and used in the process of decision making. Some of the disadvantages of telecommunication include the rise in incidents of local and international fraud and money laundering. Upgrades are also required from time to time when particular models are phased out, and this can be expensive. Network issues at times can also affect transmission, and they can lead to a break in communication. In this particular session, we looked at idea sharing events, public relations and public speaking, and we also touched on ICT amongst other topics. As a wrap-up of the whole session on business communication, we discussed the 4 language skills which affect communication. That is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening and speaking are critical to communication on a general note and as a public speaker, just as reading and writing are needed for business reports, business correspondence, writing minutes and summaries, organizing meetings, and carrying out research. The objective of the entire session was to improve our overall business communication skills, and it is hoped that all that has been learnt in this session will be implemented. Thank you.